Hello friends, have you ever wondered why some people break down in stressful moments while others seem to thrive under pressure? What if I told you that astrology has some fascinating answers hidden in the stars? Today, we're diving deep into how each zodiac sign reacts when life turns up the heat. From fiery meltdowns to calm, collected strategies, let's uncover how the signs truly handle stress. Let's begin with Aries. When stress strikes, Aries doesn't sit quietly, they explode. Their fiery Mars energy makes them impatient, restless, and quick to snap. Imagine Aries as a boiling kettle, loud, steaming, and ready to whistle at any second. But here's the twist: once they've let it out, they move on quickly. No grudges, just fire, release, and reset. For Aries, stress is like pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning bright. They are natural warriors, ruled by Mars, the planet of action and aggression, which means confrontation often feels more natural than silence. When something goes wrong in their world, their first reaction isn't to pause or reflect, it's to react, fast and loud. They slam doors, raise voices, or speed through traffic with the radio blasting, as though adrenaline is the only way to cope. It's not that Aries wants to scare anyone. It's simply their way of surviving pressure by turning the volume up until it can't be ignored. Stress doesn't hide inside an Aries, it bursts outward like sparks shooting from a bonfire. But there's another layer here. Aries actually experiences stress physically. Their heart races, their face flushes, their muscles tighten, and suddenly they feel as if every fiber of their being is telling them to do something, anything. That's why standing still feels unbearable. Aries often paces the room, storms outside for a run, or dives headfirst into a project just to get the restless energy out. Stillness, to them, is suffocation. Movement is survival. Yet the most fascinating part about Aries is that their stress doesn't linger. They burn hot, but they burn fast. An Aries might yell in the heat of the moment, throwing out fiery words they don't fully mean, but 5 minutes later, they've already moved on, ready for a new adventure. They don't dwell, they don't replay arguments in their head for hours, they simply reset. For people around Aries, this can be confusing. How can someone explode so intensely and then laugh as if nothing happened? But that's the Aries magic. They release their stress quickly and rarely carry grudges, which is why they bounce back faster than almost any other sign. Still, their impulsive reaction to stress can come with consequences. An Aries boss may bark orders under pressure and later regret their harsh tone. An Aries parent may yell about chores, then regret scaring their kids. The fire comes first, reflection later. The good news is that their honesty often smooths things over. They'll admit when they've gone too far, apologize quickly, and try to make it right. People forgive Aries because their fire feels more like passion than cruelty. The healthiest way for Aries to handle stress is through action. Sports, workouts, even just a brisk walk can transform their boiling energy into something productive. Creative outlets work too. Painting with bold colors, drumming, dancing wildly in the living room. Anything that gets the fire out of their body keeps Aries from turning that heat on the people they love. And though they'll always be fiery by nature, Aries learns over time that not every stressful situation is a battlefield. Sometimes, slowing down just enough to breathe helps them realize they don't always have to fight. They can also choose to channel that fire into leadership, courage, and resilience. Taurus, on the other hand, approaches stress like a stubborn bull. They'll resist change, dig their heels in, and cling to comfort. Think food, sleep, or retail therapy. The problem? That stubbornness can trap them in a loop of avoidance. But once Taurus decides to face the problem, their grounded nature helps them find long-term stability. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty and pleasure, which means comfort is their natural safe zone. When stress knocks on their door, their instinct isn't to confront it head-on like Aries, it's to retreat into familiar routines and cozy spaces. You'll often see Taurus reaching for comfort food, wrapping themselves in a soft blanket, or retreating into nature to find peace. They seek calmness the way a bull seeks a sunny field to rest in, and for a while, it works. But the shadow side of this coping mechanism is avoidance. Instead of solving the problem, Taurus sometimes delays it, pretending that if they hold still long enough, the storm will pass without demanding change. Stubbornness is both Taurus's shield and their trap. When stressed, they often refuse to admit anything is wrong. They tell themselves, "I'm fine," even when the tension is eating them alive. They don't like being pushed, rushed, or forced to face uncomfortable truths. Imagine a bull standing in the middle of the road. It's not moving unless it wants to. That's Taurus under pressure. They will dig in, refusing to bend, and sometimes this immovability causes even more stress in the long run. Yet, this same stubbornness can also be a hidden gift. Once Taurus finally makes up their mind to deal with the source of stress, nothing can stop them. They don't crumble under pressure, they endure. They push forward slowly, methodically, with the same persistence that makes them excellent at building careers, homes, and long-term goals. Their calm earth energy eventually grounds the chaos around them, and their ability to remain steady becomes a comfort for everyone else. Taurus also has a sensory way of coping with stress. They often turn to food, music, scents, or touch for relief. A Taurus under pressure may cook a favorite meal, spend hours gardening, or buy something luxurious just to feel secure again. Their stress relief is tangible. It comes from engaging the senses and reconnecting to the physical world. And unlike Aries, who burns out their stress in minutes, Taurus processes slowly, sometimes needing days or weeks before they feel fully steady again. People around Taurus sometimes misinterpret their calm exterior as laziness or denial, but in reality, Taurus is deeply affected by stress, they just don't show it loudly. Instead of yelling or crying, they go quiet, shut down, and retreat. They prefer to solve things internally rather than putting their emotions on display. But once they've rebuilt their strength, Taurus comes back more grounded and determined than before. The real growth for Taurus comes when they learn to balance comfort with confrontation. Retail therapy and long naps may soothe the surface, but they don't always heal the root issue. When Taurus finds the courage to face challenges head-on, their natural persistence ensures that they'll not only solve the problem but build a stronger, more stable life afterward. Stress may push them to dig in their heels, but it also teaches them how to grow stronger roots, and no storm can shake a Taurus who has decided to stand tall. With Gemini, stress turns into overthinking. Their minds start racing, and suddenly, one small issue spirals into 50 different what-if scenarios. You'll see them talking more, texting everyone, or distracting themselves with endless activities. But their superpower? Adaptability. Once they calm the mental storm, they can switch gears faster than any other sign. When a Gemini faces stress, the first place it strikes is their mind. Their brain, which is already quick and restless, suddenly becomes a buzzing hive of possibilities, worries, and imagined outcomes. A minor inconvenience can snowball into a mental maze where every path leads to more uncertainty. If you tell a Gemini they've made a small mistake at work, within minutes they might be imagining getting fired, losing their home, and moving back in with their parents. It's not because they're dramatic, it's because their mind is built to explore every angle, and under stress, that gift becomes overwhelming. You'll often notice a stressed Gemini talking more than usual. Words spill out of them as though speaking might help them organize the chaos inside their head. They might call 3 friends in a row just to retell the same story, hoping one of those conversations will give them the clarity they need. They'll text, scroll social media, binge podcasts, anything to keep their thoughts moving so they don't get stuck. Gemini's air element nature thrives on communication, and when stress clamps down, their instinct is to release it by sharing, discussing, and debating. But here's the interesting twist: Geminis can also use distraction as a shield. They may dive into hobbies, binge watch shows, or pick up new activities simply to escape the whirlwind in their mind. To the outside world, it may look like avoidance, but for Gemini, these diversions are survival tools. They give the mind a break, a chance to pause, before diving back into the problem. Unlike some signs that retreat inward, Gemini actively engages with the world, hoping the outside noise will balance the inside storm. And yet, no matter how loud their stress becomes, Gemini has a gift few others can match: adaptability. Once the initial mental storm passes, Gemini can flip perspectives like turning a page. They'll see new angles, reframe the situation, and suddenly, what seemed unbearable feels manageable. They're quick learners, quick thinkers, and surprisingly quick at letting go. Stress that might weigh on other signs for weeks often passes through Gemini like a gust of wind. They may panic in the beginning, but they're rarely held down for long. The real challenge for Gemini is learning how to slow the runaway train of thought before it derails. Mindfulness, journaling, or simply breathing deeply can work wonders, though it's not easy for them to sit still with their feelings. Still, when they do manage to quiet the noise, their adaptability shines brighter than ever. They don't just survive stress, they learn from it, reinvent themselves, and move forward with a new idea or perspective. A Gemini under pressure may look like a whirlwind, but once they've found their center, they're unstoppable in turning chaos into clarity. Cancer? Oh, they feel everything, deeply. Stress for them often means retreating into their shell, avoiding confrontation, and maybe shedding a few tears. Their coping mechanism is nurturing, either comforting themselves with a cozy blanket and favorite meal or channeling that energy into caring for others. Emotional? Yes, but resilient? Absolutely. When Cancer is under stress, emotions rise like waves during a storm. They don't just experience stress, they absorb it into their entire being, heart, and soul. Cancer is ruled by the moon, the celestial body that governs feelings, moods, and intuition. This lunar influence makes them highly sensitive to the world around them. A sharp word, a broken promise, or even a subtle change in someone's tone can send ripples of anxiety through them. While others may brush off these moments, Cancer feels them like an ache deep inside, and under stress, that sensitivity amplifies to the highest degree. Their first instinct is to retreat. Much like the crab that symbolizes their sign, Cancer pulls inward when threatened, tucking themselves safely inside their shell. This retreat can look like canceling plans, turning off the phone, or spending hours cocooned in bed. For Cancer, home is their sanctuary, and when stress comes knocking, they surround themselves with the familiar comforts that make them feel safe: soft blankets, warm meals, favorite scents, and the presence of loved ones they can trust. Solitude and security are their healing grounds. But here's the beautiful paradox of Cancer. Even when they're hurting, they often cope by nurturing others. Stress may drive them to cook a big meal for their family, check in on friends, or throw themselves into caretaking roles. Giving comfort allows them to regain their own balance, as if healing someone else's pain soothes their own. Their compassion and empathy, though heavy to carry, become their tools for survival. Yes, they may cry. Yes, they may feel overwhelmed. But tears are not weakness for Cancer, they are release. Just as the ocean must spill its waves onto the shore, Cancer needs to let emotions out to reset. And once they've released the storm, their resilience shines through. People often underestimate Cancer because of their sensitivity, but in truth, they are one of the strongest signs. Their ability to endure comes from deep emotional strength, a strength built not on denial but on acceptance. They allow themselves to feel it all, and that is what helps them rise again. Still, their challenge lies in not letting stress turn into overprotection or avoidance. Cancer may hold on to pain for too long, nursing old wounds instead of letting them heal. They may close themselves off, refusing to confront issues directly, hoping time alone will fix everything. But when they do face their problems with courage, their intuition and emotional intelligence guide them through with grace. Cancer's resilience is quiet but profound. They may break down today, but tomorrow they will get back up, stronger and more compassionate. They may retreat into their shell, but when they emerge, it's with wisdom and understanding that inspires others. Stress, for Cancer, is never easy. But their capacity to nurture themselves and those around them ensures that no matter how strong the storm, they'll always find their way back to calm waters. Now Leo under stress is like a lion in a cage. They hate losing control or looking weak, so they may roar louder than usual. Their pride won't let them show vulnerability easily. But once Leo channels their fiery energy into creativity, music, art, performance, they transform stress into something powerful and inspiring. When life corners a Leo with stress, it's as if the king of the jungle suddenly feels trapped, pacing behind invisible bars. Leo thrives on being in control, admired, respected, and seen as strong. Stress, however, shakes that foundation and makes them feel their image might crack. They loathe the idea of being perceived as weak, and so instead of shrinking, they expand. Their natural instinct is to roar, sometimes literally with raised voices, dramatic gestures, or an exaggerated show of frustration. To outsiders, it may look like overreaction, but to Leo, roaring is defense, a way of saying, "Don't forget who I am." This reaction is deeply tied to Leo's ruling planet, the Sun. The Sun shines boldly, unapologetically, never hiding. Likewise, Leo in stress refuses to disappear into the shadows. Instead, they grow louder, more expressive, and sometimes more theatrical. They might throw themselves into grand speeches, bold declarations, or impassioned arguments, not necessarily because the situation calls for it, but because their pride won't let them quietly crumble. A lion must be seen standing tall, even if inside they are wrestling with insecurity. But here lies the fascinating paradox. Beneath the roar, Leo often feels incredibly vulnerable. Stress cuts at their confidence, making them question whether they are still admired, loved, or respected. They may worry that their authority is slipping or that people see cracks in their powerful exterior. This fear can cause them to double down, putting on an even bigger show of strength. They might work longer hours, throw themselves into leadership roles, or dazzle with bold creativity, all to prove that nothing, not even stress, can shake their crown. And yet, Leo has a remarkable gift when it comes to stress, transformation. While some signs get paralyzed by pressure, Leo can take that same fire and channel it into art, performance, or creation. Stress can fuel their creativity in ways that astonish others. A Leo under pressure might suddenly paint with raw emotion, write passionately, or deliver a performance that shakes audiences to their core. They have the ability to turn pain into beauty, stress into brilliance, and doubt into determination. Their stress becomes a stage, and rather than letting it defeat them, they use it as an opportunity to shine brighter. Of course, their pride can be both a strength and a stumbling block. Leo's refusal to show weakness can make it hard for them to ask for help when they truly need it. They may suffer silently behind the scenes, holding up the mask of strength even as they feel cracks forming. The lesson for Leo is that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's authenticity. When they allow trusted friends or loved ones into their private world, they discover that their light shines even brighter when shared honestly. Ultimately, stress doesn't destroy Leo, it refines them. Every challenge becomes fuel for growth, every setback a chance to prove their resilience. They roar not just to defend themselves, but to remind the world, and perhaps themselves, that even in the hardest moments, the lion's spirit can never truly be caged. Virgo is the classic worrier. Stress sends them into overdrive, analyzing every tiny detail until they can't see the bigger picture. Expect lists, plans, and a whole lot of perfectionism. But here's the upside. Virgo's sharp mind and problem-solving skills make them excellent at turning chaos into order once they breathe and prioritize. For Virgo, stress is rarely a loud explosion. It's a quiet storm that brews inside their mind. They are ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication and analysis, which sharpens their ability to notice every detail. In stressful moments, however, that sharpness becomes a double-edged sword. Virgo begins to fixate on flaws, mistakes, and potential disasters, dissecting situations until they feel like they're drowning in minutiae. Something as small as a misplaced email or a delayed deadline can spiral into hours of overthinking, each scenario growing more complex than the last. Unlike Leo, who externalizes stress through drama and display, Virgo internalizes it. They may look calm on the outside, quietly working away, but inside their mind is racing with constant analysis. They create mental checklists, revise plans, and replay conversations, searching for the exact point where things went wrong. Stress can push them toward perfectionism, convincing them that if they just organize every detail, fix every flaw, and prepare for every outcome, they'll regain control. The irony, of course, is that this obsessive focus often blinds them to the bigger picture. Virgo's coping mechanism is productivity. When stressed, they don't sit still. They clean, organize, write, schedule, or research. Their environment becomes a reflection of their inner state. If they feel chaotic inside, they may scrub their kitchen spotless or alphabetize their bookshelf, hoping that external order will bring internal calm. And in many ways, it works. Virgo finds relief in structure, in creating tangible systems that restore a sense of stability. But there's also a danger in this pattern. Stress can make Virgo overly critical, both of themselves and others. They may pick apart their own efforts, believing nothing is good enough, or nitpick the people around them, pointing out flaws as if fixing them might somehow soothe their own unease. Loved ones may feel judged, but in truth, Virgo's criticism stems from worry, not malice. They want everything to run smoothly, and stress magnifies their need to correct imperfections. Yet within this tendency lies Virgo's hidden strength, problem solving. While some signs freeze or panic in chaos, Virgo leans into analysis and eventually finds solutions others overlook. Their eye for detail allows them to spot the missing piece, the overlooked step, the practical answer. Once they manage to calm the spiral of overthinking, Virgo becomes an anchor of stability. They are the ones who take scattered pieces and fit them into a working whole, transforming disorder into clarity. The key for Virgo is learning to pause and breathe before they get lost in endless analysis. Stress doesn't always require 1,000 lists or exhaustive planning. Sometimes, it requires stepping back, trusting intuition, and allowing imperfection. When Virgo remembers that not everything can be controlled, they release themselves from the cycle of worry and reclaim their remarkable gift, creating order without losing peace. In the end, stress may send Virgo into overdrive, but it never defeats them. Their analytical mind, once balanced, turns chaos into structure and confusion into strategy. Where others see only mess, Virgo sees a way forward. And though they may worry endlessly in the process, their resilience ensures that when the dust settles, Virgo will be the one who has already mapped the path ahead. When it comes to Libra, stress feels like imbalance. They'll struggle to make decisions, overthink outcomes, and worry about keeping everyone happy. Their first instinct is to avoid conflict at all costs, but that only makes stress build up. Yet once Libra remembers to center themselves, their natural sense of harmony helps them restore peace quickly. For Libra, stress is not just a feeling, it's a disruption of their entire inner world. Symbolized by the scales, Libra is always searching for balance, fairness, and beauty, both in their surroundings and in their relationships. When stress enters their life, it tips those scales wildly, making them feel as though everything they've built, peace, order, and stability, is collapsing into chaos. While other signs may confront stress directly, Libra's instinct is to pause, analyze, and seek the perfect solution that offends no one and solves everything at once. The problem? Stress magnifies their indecisiveness. Suddenly, even small choices, like whether to confront someone about a problem or let it go, feel like monumental decisions that carry the weight of the universe. Libra under stress often retreats into overthinking. Their minds run through every possible outcome, every angle of a conversation, every reaction people might have. They'll rehearse what they could say, then doubt it, rewrite it in their mind, and still end up saying nothing at all. This mental tug of war leaves them paralyzed, unable to move forward. To those around them, it may look like procrastination or avoidance, but in truth, Libra is simply overwhelmed by the pressure of finding a solution that feels fair, diplomatic, and harmonious. And then there's their deep desire to keep everyone happy. Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty, and this influence gives them a natural urge to please. Under stress, this urge intensifies. They worry about how others see them, about whether they've upset someone, about whether their choices might cause conflict. Their instinct is to smooth over tension, to keep the peace at any cost, even if that means sacrificing their own needs or bottling up their own frustrations. Ironically, this avoidance of conflict doesn't eliminate stress, it multiplies it. The more Libra tries to ignore their own discomfort for the sake of others, the heavier that imbalance becomes. But here's the incredible gift of Libra. Once they remember to turn inward, to reconnect with their center, they have an unmatched ability to restore harmony. A Libra who takes time to breathe, meditate, journal, or surround themselves with beauty can recalibrate their inner scales. Suddenly, the chaos quiets. Their natural sense of fairness rises again, and they are able to see clearly. They realize that balance doesn't mean pleasing everyone, it means honoring themselves while still considering others. In stressful times, Libra often finds healing in environments of calm and beauty. Music, art, candles, nature, or simply being in a room that feels aesthetically pleasing can work wonders for them. Surrounding themselves with harmony on the outside helps them remember the harmony within. Once they've recentered, they become incredible mediators, not just for themselves but for others too. They can walk into a tense situation and diffuse it with charm, kindness, and diplomacy. The challenge for Libra is learning that conflict is not the enemy. Stress often arises because they delay necessary confrontations, hoping balance will return on its own. But when Libra accepts that sometimes truth must be spoken, even if it disrupts peace for a while, they step into their true power. They become not just peacemakers, but warriors for justice, people who restore harmony not by avoiding the storm, but by guiding everyone through it. Stress may knock Libra off balance, but it also teaches them that real harmony comes not from perfection, but from courage and authenticity. For Scorpio, stress is intense, like everything else they experience. They might withdraw completely, hiding emotions behind a mysterious facade, or they might lash out if pushed too far. But here's their secret weapon: transformation. Scorpios can rise from stress stronger than ever, like a phoenix out of ashes. When Scorpio is under stress, it's never halfway, it's all-consuming. This is a sign ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, death, and rebirth, and Mars, the planet of raw energy. That combination means their emotional life runs deeper than most people can even imagine. When stress arrives, Scorpio doesn't just feel it in passing, they embody it, internalize it, and wrestle with it in the darkest corners of their mind. Their reactions, like their personality, are intense and often hidden. One of their first instincts under pressure is to withdraw. Scorpio values privacy deeply, and when life overwhelms them, they retreat into their own shadows. They build walls, close doors, and lock their feelings away, letting no one see what's truly happening inside. To the outside world, they may appear cold, distant, or mysteriously silent, but beneath that facade, storms are raging. Their emotions are volcanic, and silence is their way of containing the eruption until they're ready to deal with it. But if pushed too far, Scorpio's response can swing in the opposite direction. Instead of silence, they unleash their sting. Anger, sharp words, and sudden intensity may erupt like lava breaking through stone. It's not that Scorpio wants to destroy, but when they feel betrayed, cornered, or disrespected, their defensive instincts ignite. Stress strips away their patience and reveals the raw edge of their emotions. To those around them, this sudden outburst can feel shocking, even intimidating, but to Scorpio, it's simply the release of pressure they've been holding inside for too long. Yet behind all this intensity lies Scorpio's greatest gift: transformation. More than any other sign, they are capable of taking stress, pain, and hardship and using it as fuel for growth. Where others see endings, Scorpio sees beginnings. Where others break, Scorpio rebuilds stronger. Their nature is like the phoenix, the mythical bird that burns in its own fire only to rise again from the ashes. Stress, no matter how devastating, becomes the catalyst for Scorpio's evolution. They don't just survive it, they alchemize it into wisdom, resilience, and strength. Scorpio's path through stress often involves deep reflection. They may immerse themselves in journaling, therapy, meditation, or spiritual practices, seeking to understand the root cause of their turmoil. They are unafraid to dive into the darkest parts of themselves, to confront fears and wounds that others would avoid. This bravery makes them incredibly powerful, because while stress may shake them, it also gives them the opportunity to shed old skins and emerge renewed. The challenge for Scorpio is not letting stress harden them. Their instinct to guard themselves and trust no one can become isolating, creating walls so high that no one can reach them. But when they allow trusted allies into their inner world, when they share instead of conceal, they discover that vulnerability doesn't weaken them, it deepens their strength. In the end, Scorpio's relationship with stress is not about avoiding it, but about transforming it. They feel deeply, hurt deeply, and struggle deeply, but they also rise deeply. Every storm they endure becomes a story of survival and rebirth. For Scorpio, stress is not just an obstacle, it's the fire that forges their unbreakable spirit. Sagittarius treats stress like an enemy they'd rather outrun. Their go-to move? Escape, through travel, humor, or distraction. They hate feeling trapped, so they'll seek freedom at all costs. But once Sagittarius confronts their challenges head-on, their optimism and adventurous spirit make them surprisingly resilient. When Sagittarius feels the heavy hand of stress pressing down on them, their first instinct is not to fight or freeze, but to flee. This is a sign ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, growth, and freedom, and so the very idea of being stuck in a corner by problems makes them restless, anxious, and deeply uncomfortable. Their energy is fiery, restless, and always seeking motion, which is why stress for them often looks like running into new experiences, new adventures, or even just new distractions. If the weight of life feels too suffocating, Sagittarius may suddenly plan a road trip, book a spontaneous flight, or throw themselves into an entirely new project, all to avoid facing what feels unbearable. To them, stress is a cage, and the only solution is to break out and run toward open skies. One of Sagittarius's most common coping mechanisms is humor. Even when they're crumbling inside, they'll crack jokes, make light of situations, or use laughter as a shield. Their friends may not realize how stressed they are, because Sagittarius can turn even the darkest moment into a story that makes people smile. It's not that they're careless, it's that humor is their survival tool, their way of turning unbearable weight into something a little lighter. Beneath every joke, though, is often a deep longing to escape from the heaviness of reality. Travel is another refuge. Nothing calms a stressed Sagittarius like a change of scenery. The mere act of stepping into a new environment, whether that's exploring a different city, hiking through nature, or simply taking a long drive with the windows down, refreshes their spirit. Movement is healing to them. Being stuck in the same place while stress builds feels suffocating. They need to breathe new air, see new horizons, and feel the world open up again before they can regain their perspective. Yet while escapism can bring temporary relief, it doesn't always solve the problem. Sagittarius has a tendency to avoid responsibilities when they feel too heavy, convincing themselves that optimism alone will carry them through. They may push aside deadlines, ignore obligations, or distract themselves with adventures, only to find that the stress they tried to outrun has been patiently waiting when they return. But here lies their secret. Once Sagittarius decides to confront stress head-on, their natural optimism and adventurous spirit transform them into one of the most resilient signs. When they finally stop running, Sagittarius approaches challenges with a hopeful heart and an expansive mind. They believe that no problem is permanent, no setback defines the future, and no mountain is too high to climb. Their ability to see the bigger picture helps them rise above details that paralyze other signs. To Sagittarius, stress is just another adventure, another story waiting to be told. They may stumble, they may wander off course, but their belief in growth always brings them back stronger. The key for Sagittarius is learning that freedom is not found only in escape, but also in courage. True liberation comes when they face challenges instead of outrunning them, because each problem they conquer makes them freer than before. Stress may chase them, but in the end, Sagittarius always learns that they have the wings to rise above it, not by fleeing, but by embracing the journey. For Capricorn, stress isn't new, it's a lifelong companion. They immediately go into fix-it mode, becoming more serious, disciplined, and determined. The downside? They may overwork or suppress emotions, but their sense of responsibility ensures they climb out of stressful times stronger than most, even if the climb feels like Mount Everest. Capricorn is perhaps the most familiar with stress out of all the zodiac signs. Ruled by Saturn, the planet of discipline, structure, and responsibility, they grow up with an awareness that life isn't always easy, and challenges are a constant part of existence. To a Capricorn, stress doesn't feel like an intruder, it feels like an old acquaintance who visits often. And because of this, their reaction is less about panic and more about problem solving. The moment stress arrives, Capricorn puts on their armor, rolls up their sleeves, and asks, what needs to be done? Their instinct is to immediately take control of the situation. While other signs may collapse under the weight of pressure, Capricorn leans into it, determined to push forward. Stress activates their inner worker, and suddenly they're drawing up plans, taking charge, and organizing the chaos into manageable steps. They may stay late at the office, handle responsibilities others avoid, or take on burdens no one else wants, all in the name of fixing the problem. To them, action is the antidote to stress. But there's a cost to this approach. In their determination to stay strong and responsible, Capricorn often suppresses their emotions. They bury fear, sadness, and frustration beneath layers of discipline, convincing themselves that feelings are a distraction from the task at hand. To the outside world, they may appear unshakable, calm, and steady, but inside, unexpressed emotions build up like pressure behind a dam. When that dam finally cracks, the release can be overwhelming: anger, exhaustion, or even quiet despair. The very strength they rely on can become their greatest vulnerability. Overwork is another trap for Capricorn. Stress convinces them that if they just keep climbing, just keep pushing, they'll eventually reach a place where everything feels safe and secure. They measure their worth through achievement, so when stress threatens their stability, they double down on productivity. They'll sacrifice rest, relationships, and even their own health to prove they can endure. And while this often leads to success, it also risks burnout. Capricorn may reach the top of the mountain, only to realize they're too exhausted to enjoy the view. Yet within this pattern lies Capricorn's incredible resilience. No matter how heavy the burden, they keep moving forward, step by determined step. Their ability to endure hardship is unmatched, and their sense of responsibility makes them reliable pillars in times of crisis. Friends and family often turn to Capricorn when everything feels like it's falling apart, because they know Capricorn will remain steady and find a way through. The real growth for Capricorn comes when they allow themselves to lean on others, to admit that they too feel vulnerable, and to give themselves permission to rest. Stress doesn't always have to be met with more work. Sometimes it's healed by letting go, by trusting that not every load needs to be carried alone. When Capricorn balances responsibility with self-care, they discover that they don't just endure stress, they master it. In the end, stress doesn't break Capricorn, it shapes them. Each challenge becomes another step up their personal mountain, another test of their endurance, another opportunity to prove their strength. They may stumble, they may struggle, but they always keep climbing. And when they finally reach the summit, scarred, perhaps, but unbowed, they stand as proof that no storm, no setback, no mountain of stress can defeat their determination. Aquarius reacts to stress by detaching. They'll intellectualize their problems, almost pretending they don't feel anything at all. Friends might think they're cold, but really, Aquarius is just processing in their own quirky, futuristic way. Once they gain perspective, they often come up with creative, out-of-the-box solutions no one else would imagine. For Aquarius, stress rarely shows itself in the form of tears, loud anger, or obvious breakdowns. Instead, it takes on the shape of withdrawal, a kind of emotional distancing that leaves people around them wondering if they even care. But this detachment is not a lack of feeling. In fact, Aquarius feels stress deeply, but their natural instinct is to rise above it, to remove themselves from the heat of the moment and study the situation from afar. They are ruled by Uranus, the planet of innovation, rebellion, and sudden insight, which means their response to pressure is rarely conventional. Rather than sinking into emotion, they float above it, scanning the chaos from a higher perspective like an observer of their own life. This detachment can be confusing to others. Friends and loved ones might think Aquarius is being aloof, uncaring, or even cold, but the truth is that they are simply protecting their inner world from becoming overwhelmed. Their minds move quickly, analyzing patterns, looking for logic, and imagining alternate scenarios. Stress to Aquarius is not a flood of feelings, it is a puzzle to be solved, a system to be understood, a challenge that requires intellectual distance before it can be faced. They may look calm, almost eerily so, while inside their thoughts are racing through 1,000 possible angles. Aquarius processes stress in ways that often feel unusual or even eccentric. Some may immerse themselves in futuristic thinking, imagining how current problems will look 5 years from now, or how humanity at large would tackle such an issue. Others may turn to their unique hobbies, diving into science fiction, technology, social causes, or abstract creative projects. What looks like avoidance is, in fact, processing. Aquarius doesn't need to drown in emotion to work through stress. They need to detach, to zoom out, and to see the bigger picture. Yet there is a danger in this distance. If Aquarius detaches too much, they risk shutting out the people who care about them. They can become so wrapped up in their thoughts, so committed to analyzing the problem intellectually, that they forget emotions are not inconveniences, they are part of the solution. Friends may feel pushed away, craving warmth from Aquarius and receiving only logic in return. And while Aquarius genuinely believes they're helping by offering rational analysis, what others often need is empathy. Stress teaches Aquarius the importance of balancing intellect with heart. Once they regain perspective, Aquarius shines in ways no other sign can. Their minds are wired for originality, and when stress forces them to think differently, they often uncover solutions no one else could imagine. While others might crumble under pressure, Aquarius may invent, innovate, or discover entirely new ways to approach the problem. Their gift lies in creativity under fire. Stress becomes the catalyst for revolutionary ideas. The beauty of Aquarius is that once they move through the initial stage of detachment, they re-emerge with fresh insight and a renewed sense of purpose. They may surprise everyone by presenting a solution that looks radical but works perfectly, or by using their futuristic vision to inspire hope. Stress does not shatter Aquarius, it activates their genius. Finally, Pisces, the dreamers of the Zodiac. Stress makes them sensitive, emotional, and prone to escapism, whether through daydreams, movies, or simply zoning out. But their compassion and intuition are unmatched. When Pisces turns inward for reflection or outward to help others, they transform stress into spiritual strength. Pisces experiences stress as if the entire weight of the world has landed on their shoulders. Ruled by Neptune, the planet of dreams, illusions, and spirituality, they are naturally attuned to the emotional currents around them. This makes them incredibly empathetic, but also deeply vulnerable. Under stress, Pisces doesn't just feel their own pain, they absorb the energy of everyone around them. A harsh word, a tense atmosphere, or even the suffering of strangers can overwhelm them, pulling them into waves of emotion that feel impossible to escape. Their instinctive response to stress is often escapism. Pisces may disappear into the comfort of music, movies, books, or endless daydreams, losing themselves in other worlds when the real one feels too heavy. They may scroll endlessly on their phones, sleep for hours, or spend long stretches staring out a window, imagining a different life. It's not laziness, it's survival. Their rich imagination becomes a refuge, a way to soften the sharp edges of reality until they feel ready to face them again. This tendency to escape can sometimes frustrate others, who see Pisces as avoidant or disconnected. But what people often miss is that Pisces uses this time in retreat to recharge their spirit. While they may look like they're drifting, inside they are sifting through their emotions, entangling knots of sensitivity, and quietly finding their center. Their healing doesn't come from confrontation, it comes from surrender, from allowing themselves to flow like water until the storm passes. Yet, there is also another side to Pisces under stress, their boundless compassion. When life feels unbearable, many Pisces turn outward, pouring their energy into helping others. They may volunteer, comfort a friend, or lose themselves in acts of kindness, because giving love eases their own pain. In offering healing, they heal themselves. Stress becomes more bearable when it is transformed into empathy, and Pisces has a gift for finding meaning in even the hardest struggles. Their intuition also becomes a guiding light in stressful times. While other signs may scramble for logic or structure, Pisces leans into their gut feelings, trusting the subtle whispers of their inner voice. They may meditate, pray, or engage in spiritual practices, seeking answers beyond the physical world. And often, their intuition leads them exactly where they need to be. Stress for Pisces is not just an obstacle, it's a spiritual lesson, a moment that calls them to connect more deeply with themselves and with the unseen currents of life. Of course, Pisces must be careful not to drown in their own emotions. Their sensitivity, while beautiful, can also leave them feeling powerless. Escapism, if indulged too long, can trap them in illusions rather than helping them heal. The challenge for Pisces is learning to return from their dreams with wisdom they can apply in the real world. When they find that balance, they transform stress into something transcendent, turning pain into poetry, confusion into clarity, and despair into compassion. Ultimately, Pisces is proof that stress does not always harden, it can soften, too. It can open the heart wider, deepen empathy, and awaken spiritual strength. While they may cry, retreat, or drift at first, Pisces always finds a way to rise again, guided not by force, but by faith. For them, stress is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them. So, which zodiac sign do you think handles stress the best? Or maybe the real question is, how do you cope under pressure? When we reach the end of this journey, it's tempting to rank the signs, to crown one zodiac champion of stress management and call it a day. But the truth is far more fascinating. Every sign, in its own way, carries both strengths and weaknesses when it comes to handling pressure. Aries burns hot and fast, exploding but then moving on as if nothing happened. Taurus digs deep into comfort and steadiness, but risks getting stuck in stubborn avoidance. Gemini spins stories in their head until they finally adapt and switch gears. Cancer retreats into emotion but emerges with incredible resilience. Leo roars louder when the cage closes in, yet transforms stress into art and inspiration. Virgo dissects every detail, nearly drowning in perfectionism, until they reorganize the chaos into order. Libra wavers in indecision, yet restores harmony when they finally center themselves. Scorpio dives into the shadows, burns away the old, and rises stronger than ever. Sagittarius tries to outrun the storm, but when they stop, their optimism makes them nearly unbreakable. Capricorn treats stress like a mountain, hard, cold, steep, but climbs it anyway, step by determined step. Aquarius detaches to analyze, baffling others, only to return with brilliant out-of-the-box solutions. And Pisces, soft and soulful, drifts away at first but then transforms pain into compassion and spiritual strength. So, is there one sign that wins? Not really. Stress doesn't play favorites, and the zodiac doesn't hand out trophies for resilience. Each sign carries a unique gift that helps it survive. For some, it's fire and fight. For others, it's calm reflection. For a few, it's humor, creativity, or pure endurance. And here's the real secret. No sign handles stress perfectly, but every sign, in its own way, shines when pushed to its limits. Which means the better question isn't about the stars at all, it's about you. How do you cope under pressure? Do you roar like a Leo, retreat like a Cancer, or detach like an Aquarius? Maybe you recognize yourself in more than one sign, or maybe you see a little of your friends and family in these cosmic reactions. Stress has a way of revealing truths about us, truths we don't always want to face, but ones that help us grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. If you enjoyed this journey through the zodiac under stress, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more cosmic insights, and check out the other videos on this channel. Share this with a friend who could use a little starlight in their stressful days. And remember, the stars may guide us, but it's up to us to choose how we shine.